The argument started like they always do over something stupid. It was a Saturday morning and I just needed to go to the hardware store. I'm in the middle of building some shelves for my office and I needed different screws. The keys to our only car, a nice SUV, were on the tray by the door where my wife Amelia likes them kept. I grabbed them, yelled that I'd be back in an hour and was about to leave. "And where do you think you're going?" Her voice came from the top of the stairs, sharp and bossy. She was standing up there with her arms crossed, looking down at me. Not like a wife, but like a principal about to give a kid detention. "To the hardware store," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "I need screws for the shelves." She walked down the stairs slowly, just staring at the keys in my hand. "Did you ask me if you could take the car?" I just looked at her for a second. The question was so ridiculous. I'm a 42-year-old man. I'm a partner at an architectural firm. I don't need to ask permission to go buy screws. "It's our car, Amelia," I said. I could already feel myself getting annoyed. "It's my car," she said back with this little smirk. "The registration is in my name. The insurance is in my name. Your name isn't on a single piece of paper for that vehicle. It's a privilege for you to use it, not a right." And yeah, technically she was right. When we bought the car 3 years ago, her dad, who is a financial planner and manages our money, said it was smarter for tax purposes to put it in her name. Like an idiot, I went along with it to avoid a fight. I paid the down payment for my savings, and the monthly payments come from our joint account, which my salary mostly funds. But on paper, it was hers. And now she was using that paper like a weapon. "I need to go to the store," I said again, my voice getting harder. She just held out her hand, the keys, Michael. I didn't move. We just stood there staring at each other. This wasn't about the car, and we both knew it. It was about control. It had always been about control. Her controlling the money, our social life, even what temperature the house was set at. This was just her being more obvious about it than usual. Finally, her voice got louder and she snapped, "No car keys until you learn to ask for permission. I'm not having this argument every single weekend." I looked at her hand, then at the keys, then at her face. Her expression was just cold. And that was it. Something in my head just settled. A decision that had been building for years finally clicked into place. This marriage wasn't just bad. It was a cage, and she had just rattled the bars one last time. I didn't yell. I didn't fight. I put the keys right in her hand. "Sure," I said. My voice was calm, almost flat. "You're right. I should have asked." The look of pure victory on her face was something to see. She thought she'd won. She thought she'd put me in my place. She turned with a smug smile and walked back upstairs, leaving me standing there like a teenager who'd just been grounded. She had no idea she hadn't just won a stupid argument. She had just started an avalanche. Update 1. That weekend was weird. I played the part of the good, obedient husband. I finished the shelves with the wrong screws. I spent the rest of the time reading in my office. Any time Amelia wanted to go out, I'd politely ask if I could come with her to the grocery store to her parents for brunch. She was loving it, acting all high and mighty now that she'd won, granting me the privilege of riding shotgun in the car I paid for. But while I was acting defeated, my mind was working overtime. Look, I'm an architect. My whole job is about finding weak spots in a structure before it collapses. And our marriage was a condemned building. I was about to start planning the demolition. On Monday morning, she drove me to work. This was a new thing she started, and it felt just as humiliating as you'd think. "I'll pick you up at 5:30, she said, like my mum dropping me off at school. The second I walked into my office, I started making moves. First thing on the list, get independent. At lunch, I walked over to a car dealership near my office. I didn't want another SUV. I wanted something for myself. I test drove a sports sedan I'd wanted for years. One Amelia always said was impractical. I leased it right there on the spot, using money from my personal savings. The dealership said they could deliver it to my office garage by the end of the day. Second on the list, cut off the money supply. After the dealership, I went to a completely different bank. I opened a new checking account, a new savings account, and an investment account, all just in my name. Back at the office, I got on my company's HR portal and had my entire paycheck rerouted to my new accounts. That was the end of my money going into the joint accounts Amelia and her dad controlled. Third, and most important, figure out the damage. For years, I'd let Amelia's dad, Richard, manage our finances. He's a partner at a small wealth management firm and had convinced me he could get us better returns. I'd even given him power of attorney over my investment portfolio, which I had for 10 years before I even met Amelia. It was a stupid mistake based on trust, and I was about to find out just how stupid. I spent the rest of the afternoon on the phone with my lawyer, Ben. He's a shark who specializes in messy, high-asset divorces. I told him everything. Ben was blunt. He said I had to revoke Richard's power of attorney immediately and get an independent audit of everything he'd ever managed. He warned me it was going to get ugly. That evening, I was waiting on the curb when Amelia pulled up. She had that smug look on her face. "Ready to go home?" she asked. "Actually," I said, "I think I'll drive myself." Right on cue, a flatbed truck from the dealership pulled into the driveway. On the back was my new car, a black sedan looking mean and ready to go. The driver hopped out and handed me the keys. Amelia just stared, her mouth hanging open as they unloaded my car. The look on her face was something else. It wasn't just shock or anger. I saw fear in her eyes for the first time in a long time. It was the fear of a queen who just watched a pawn get to the other side of the board. "What is that?" She finally managed to say that, I said, holding up my new keys. "Is my car, so I don't have to ask for permission anymore." I got in, and the smell of new leather was incredible. I looked over at her, still sitting in her SUV, looking completely stunned. I gave her a little wave and drove off, leaving her in my rearview mirror. The first bomb had gone off. Update 2. The drive home was amazing. I just listened to the engine. It was a hell of a lot better than the tense silence I'd gotten used to at home. When I pulled into the driveway, she was already there, having broken who knows how many laws to beat me home. She was standing on the porch, arms crossed, looking furious. "We need to talk," she said, her voice low. "Okay," I said, and walked right past her into the house. She came in after me, slamming the door. "You bought a car?" "A $60,000 car, without even discussing it with me. Leased it, actually," I said. "And you're right. I didn't. I made a decision. I need a reliable way to get to work. And my access to the other car became conditional." "Conditional? I just wanted you to ask. It's common courtesy, Michael." "No, Amelia," I said, finally turning to face her. "It's control and I'm done playing. The new car is just the first of many changes around here." The anger on her face just vanished, and she went pale. She started to look scared. "What does that mean?" "It means I had a very interesting talk with my lawyer today," I said. "And my new bank manager, I'm taking back control of my finances. My paycheck isn't going into the joint account anymore, and I've revoked your father's power of attorney over my investments." Mentioning her father was a direct hit. She actually flinched. "You can't do that. My father is our financial advisor. He has a strategy for us." "He has a strategy for himself," I said back. "One that seems to involve a lot of risky investments with my money, and not a lot of transparency. I've requested a full audit of every account he manages. I'm very interested to see what turns up." She just stood there, totally silent. She'd lost control of the car, and now she was losing control of the money. Her whole power structure was falling apart in just a few hours. The next few days were a cold war inside our house. She wouldn't speak to me, just slammed doors and had loud, angry phone calls with her mother. I didn't care. I was busy. I had a team of accountants going through years of Richard's financial records, and what they were finding wasn't good. He had been churning my accounts, making tons of trades just to generate commissions for his firm. He had invested a huge chunk of my money in a tech startup that went bust, a company he was a secret partner in. He wasn't just mismanaging my money, he was stealing it. The real bombshell landed a week later. The auditors found wire transfers from my investment account to a holding company I'd never heard of. Turns out that company owned the house her parents lived in. He had used over $200,000 of my money to pay off his own mortgage. With the audit report, I was ready. I told Amelia to have her parents at our house on Saturday morning for an urgent financial discussion. I told her to have them bring their lawyer. I told her my lawyer Ben would be there too. They arrived acting all offended and defiant. Richard walked in like he owned the place, already complaining and demanding answers. "This is a breach of trust, Michael. After all I've done for you, I didn't say a thing. I just let Ben take over." Ben was a shark. He calmly laid out everything from the audit with charts and copies of the illegal wire transfers. He explained, in simple terms, the legal definitions of investment, fraud, and embezzlement. As Ben talked, Richard's face went from red to a pasty white. The tough guy act disappeared and he just started sweating. Amelia's mom looked like she was going to be sick. Amelia just stared at the table in horror. When Ben was done, he slid a document across the table, a separation agreement. "Here's the deal," Ben said. "Michael is willing to not press criminal charges against you, Richard. He's also willing to not sue your firm into the ground, which you would lose. In exchange, you will repay every penny you stole with interest. And Amelia," he said, turning to her, "will sign this agreement. She waives all rights to alimony and any claim on Michael's assets. Her name comes off the deed to this house. She leaves with her personal belongings and nothing else." Their lawyer, who was clearly out of his league, started to argue about marital assets. Ben just smiled. "Are you sure you want to do that? My next call is to the DA. Your client is looking at 10 years in federal prison. His daughter could be an accessory. Your choice. Final update. The negotiation was over before it started. Faced with prison, they folded. Richard, it turned out, had just enough money stashed away to pay me back. He had to sell off some properties and liquidate his own portfolio, but the full amount was wired to my account. Within a week, Amelia signed the papers. She had no other option. The day she moved out was quiet. She packed her stuff without a word, her face just a mask of bitter anger. She didn't cry or yell. I think she was just exhausted. The game of control she and her father had been playing for years had finally trapped them. The last I heard, her parents had to sell their big house and move into a small condo. With my money gone and Richard's reputation shot, their fancy lifestyle was over. His firm is being investigated and he'll probably lose his license. Amelia is living with them. She had to get a real job as a sales associate in a department store. She's living a life she never wanted without the financial safety net she always took for granted. A few months ago, I was driving home late from the office in my new car. I pulled up to a red light and glanced over. It was her old SUV. She was in the driver's seat. Our eyes met for a second. She didn't look angry. She just looked empty. The light turned green, but she didn't move. I just drove away, leaving her sitting there in the car she fought so hard to control. A car that now represented everything she had lost.